Since the dawn of humanity, in the great Rift Valley of Kenya, there has lied a hidden kingdom, an ancient royal tribe where power of queenship is passed from mother to daughter, and every 5 generations, this tribe bears a female child with hair as white as the clouds and eyes as blue as the skies. They consider these powerful women to be sorceresses, often blessed with many gifts and abilities, including the ability to wield magic. In the age of pharaohs, in a time before the Ancient One, there is tale of one such sorceress whom also bore white hair and blue eyes. Her name, Ashake. Ashake was the creator of the tarot cards and a faithful servant of Agamotto's mother, Ashtar. In modern-day Africa, we tell the tale of an unnamed queen. Our story begins with the birth of her first child. His name, Shetani. Meanwhile, in America, a young woman named Harriet and her husband give birth to a son. They name him David Munroe. Harriet was one of Malcom X's aides and went with Malcolm to meet with several heads of state around Africa, including the king of Wakanda himself, King T'Chaka. She took young David along with her on that trip, and while there, David fell in love with Africa, and he vowed that he would return one day. Soon after the birth of David, in Kenya, the same unnamed queen gives birth to a second child, a female she names Nader. And like any man in a matrilineal monarchy, Shetani felt threatened, because in his tribe, although he is firstborn, only the females ascend to the throne. Shetani would never be king. So when he and Nader were young adults, Shetani, angry, discriminated, and hungry for power, rebelled against his tribe and left to find power of his own. Princess Nader, although beloved by her people and the rightful heir to the kingdom, felt her rule was forced upon her. She too rebelled against tradition and eventually left her tribe to be part of the modern world, only taking with her her family's ancestral ruby gem, one of her tribe's most powerful artifacts. Princess Nader enrolls in the University of Kenya. There she meets David Munroe, whom had kept his word to return to Africa. He too attended the University of Kenya, studying photography. As a child, David had fallen in love with Africa. As a man, David had fallen madly in love with Princess Nader. They eventually get married, and due to her love for David and her desire to see the world, David and Nader Munroe relocate to America, to David's hometown, Harlem, New York. Soon, their love bears them a daughter. Unlike her mother, however, she is born with hair as white as the clouds and eyes as blue as the skies. They name her Ororo, which means beauty in Nader's native tongue. In the months after Ororo's birth, Princess Nader grew very unhappy with the increasing racial violence from whites towards blacks in America. She feared that her then 6-month-old daughter, a princess, would face a life of hardship and discrimination, not just for her deep brown skin, but especially for her features, white hair, and blue eyes. In Africa, Princess Nader would have been a queen and Ororo would be treated royally by her own people. But in America, she was treated as subhuman. So when David was offered a job in Cairo, Egypt as a photojournalist for the Suez War, Nader urges him to take it, hoping they would have a better life in her homeland of Africa. Unfortunately for Nader, she could not be further from the truth. So the Munroes leave Harlem, New York in America, where Ororo was born, and they move back to Africa, to Cairo, Egypt during the Suez War. And for the next 6 years, the Munroes lived happily in Cairo. David would share philosophies with young Ororo, and Princess Nader would tell her of her tribe and the kingdom which she had left behind so long ago. It would seem Princess Nader's dream of a happy life for her daughter had come true. Until suddenly, a warplane in bombing runs is shot down over their home. David tries his best to get everyone to safety. Princess Nader tries with all her might to save Ororo. They watch as the winds miraculously save her first, and the plane crashes into their home. Princess Nader and David are killed instantly. Little Ororo survives, but for a while she is trapped, nearly buried alive, next to her mother's dead body. Ororo eventually escapes the wreckage with only her tattered clothes and her mother's ancestral ruby gem, unaware of the power it holds, and unaware of how to get home, back to her mother's tribe, or to America, to her father's people. Ororo, now an orphan, wanders the streets of Cairo, Egypt, surviving on her own, unaware that she is next in line to rule one of the oldest tribes, one of the oldest hidden kingdoms on earth.